Good morning. Thanks for joining us this Wednesday morning for our online reflection as we continue our week looking at Psalm number 90. I'm so glad that you've chosen to watch this video with us this morning. I hope you're also reading it. If this isn't what you prefer, you can always read it online, get it text to you, or listen to it in a podcast form. We're giving you a lot of different ways to walk together with us today through Psalm 90. And I would invite you tonight to join us for our online Bible study at stm-umc.org/live. We'll be continuing our book, 8 Life Enriching Practices of United Methodists. So we hope that you'll join us tonight for that online. And of course, join us Sunday for worship, if you will as well. You can learn more at stm-umc.org/reopen. Lots of ways and places to plug in here at St. Matthew's. I want to share with you a reading today from Psalm 90. Today we're going to look at the word of the text, what's actually on the paper. What do we see when we look at this text? So we're going to look at Psalm 90 and we'll look at what the psalm actually teaches us today. Lord, you have been our dwelling place for all generations. Before the mountains were brought forth, or you had ever formed the earth and the world, from everlasting to everlasting you are God. You said to us, you turned us back to dust and said, turn back, mortals. For 1,000 years in your sight is like yesterday when it is past, or like a night or like a watch in the night. You sweep them away, they're like a dream. Like the grass that is renewed in the morning. It flourishes. In the morning it flourishes and is renewed. In the evening it fades and withers. You are consumed, for we are consumed by your anger. By your wrath we are overwhelmed. You have set our iniquities before you, our secret sin in the light of your countenance. For all of our days pass under your wrath. All of our years come to an end like a sigh. The days of our life are 70 years, or perhaps 80 if we are strong. Even then their span is only toil and trouble, and they are soon gone, and we fly away. Who considers the power of your anger? Your wrath is as great as the fear that is due you. So teach us to count our days, that we may gain a wise heart. Turn, O Lord, how long? Have compassion on your servants. Satisfy us in the morning with your steadfast love, so that we may rejoice and be glad in all of our days. Make us glad as many days as you have afflicted us. In the many years we have seen evil. Let your work be manifest to your servants, and your glorious power to their children. Let the favor of the Lord be upon us, and prosper us for us the work of our hands. Oh, prosper the work of our hands. I hope you call it verse 10. The days of our life are 70 years, or perhaps 80 if we're strong. And even in their span is only toil and trouble. They are soon gone, and we'll fly away. If I was a singer, I'd sing, I'll fly away for you right now, but of course I'm not, so I'm not. But that's the passage of scripture that I'll fly away gets its roots in. If you think about that old hymn, it has a lot of commonalities with this passage. Some glad morning when this life is o'er, I'll fly away. The days of our life are 70 years, or perhaps 80 if they are strong. Even their span is toil and trouble, and they are soon gone, and we fly away. You see in this passage, you see in this text, a reality of how short life is. I talked about this yesterday when we look at Moses' life. We'll talk more about this tomorrow. But you see in this passage how short life is. And I think that's a thing we really only understand as we grow older. You know, it says our life is but 70 years, 80 if we're strong. Well, I'm in my mid-40s now, so I think, oh my goodness, I'm on the downhill slide, aren't I? And I really am. You know, this earthly life is not forever. And I think the older we get, the more we understand that. So we see in this passage here, it says, we see in this passage the reality of God's eternity. Verse 4 says, 1,000 years in your sight is like yesterday when it's past, like a watch in the night. We see this passage here, that verse there in verse 4, that God exists kind of outside of our human construct of time. I think one of the things we struggle with sometimes is how, we struggle a lot with free will and predestination and how these things fit together. I think Scripture teaches us that God exists outside of our mind's ability to understand time. Here it says, and we see this echoed other places in Scripture, but 1,000 years in your sight is like yesterday when it's past. God, we try to project our limited understanding of time, our limited understanding of knowledge upon God, when God is so much bigger than our mind. God is so much bigger than our stuff. So think about how often we are concerned with things that don't really matter and how that reflects upon eternity. Our time here is so brief. And so the worries of this day are literally a speck, not even a speck, in the grand scheme of eternity. 1,000 years like yesterday. You sweep them away like a dream, like the grass that's renewed in the morning. In the morning it flourishes and renewed, in the evening it fades and withers. Remember, this is written by Moses. Think about manna. Think about manna. The manna that would fall from heaven, that they'd awake each morning and find it there. By the end of the day, it was gone. Think about the scriptures. Give us this day our daily bread, the Lord's Prayer. Our lives are like that grass that's renewed, but then it fades. It's fleeting, it's passing. It says, for we're consumed by your anger, by your wrath, we're overwhelmed. Who considers the power of your anger? Your wrath is as great as the fear that is due you. So teach us to count our days, that we may gain a wise heart. To me, that passage there, verse 12, is the heart of the psalm. Teach us to count our days, that we may gain a wise heart. Wisdom for Moses comes not from great knowledge, because who knew more than Moses? Moses received the law. Moses stood face to face with God. Moses knew God in a way that very few of us know God. God knew Moses as a friend. But Moses knows that wisdom is not something that's found by your great knowledge. But wisdom has come from understanding the truth. Wisdom is understand from seeing things in God's domain. So when we number our days, we know that they're short, but they're grand in the light of eternity. And so the worries of this day, when compared to the knowledge that is to come, and compared to the life that is to come, what a difference. The thing that you're worried about now, the stress that you're dealing with now, the fears that you're dealing with now, the stuff that you're dealing with now, in light of eternity, are nothing. And wisdom comes from that. So teach us to number our days, that we may understand our days in light of eternity. Because that's where wisdom comes from, is seeing things through God's eyes. Wisdom is not intellectual knowledge. Wisdom is sight, seeing things through God's eyes, seeing things from God's perspective, seeing things from God's truth. That's what wisdom is. Wisdom is not us learning more. Wisdom is us seeing different. Make us glad as many days you've afflicted us. Make us glad, O God. Satisfy us in the morning with your steadfast love, that we may rejoice and be glad all the day. Satisfy us, God, because only your love satisfies us. When we understand that we try to gain satisfaction from these fleeting earthly things, we see why we're always so upset. When we try to gain satisfaction from things that don't last and don't matter, we always feel empty. But when we're satisfied by God's love, that is a gift that is eternal, that satisfies throughout all eternity. Satisfy us with your love. Let your favor be upon us. This psalm teaches us that our time is brief, but that God's love is forever. And when we number our days and rely upon God's grace and God's mercy in all things, that we find wisdom and we find true life. So today, may each of us number our days and find our place in God's kingdom. Hey, love you guys. Praying for you. Have a great day today. Join us for Bible study online. We'll see you tonight, and we'll see you again tomorrow morning. Hope to see you Sunday morning in worship. Have a great day. Thanks for watching.